Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, with our first edition of Bowl Predictions with 5 big games slated for Saturday, December 15th. We are just a few hours away from kickoff. In fact, our bowl predictions have been pretty outstanding, I would have to say, over the years. Not necessarily every year can you hit it. I will have to dig up the numbers and pass those along for my bowl predictions that go way, way back. All right, we've got 5 games on Saturday. Keep in mind that if you follow me on a regular basis, you know that I don't cover the group of 5 on a regular basis. Love group of 5 football. I will be watching the games and will be providing recaps and analysis of the games, but don't really track the games during the season as closely. I watch the games. I know the standings. I know the key players. I watch the highlights. I watch the games when they're on Thursday and Friday in particular, but I'm a Power 5 guy. This is a Power 5 channel first and foremost. So, therefore, it shouldn't surprise you that almost every year my record goes up as bowl season wears on because the group of 5 play early. And we've got, aside from an Arizona State appearance in the traditional Pac-12 appearance in bowl play on the opening day in the Las Vegas Bowl, we've got all group of 5 teams in play. Starting with the New Mexico Bowl, we've got Utah State opened as a near 10-point favorite, now a touchdown favorite, 7 points against North Texas. Matt Wells has moved on to Texas Tech. We understand that he's actively coaching in bowl practice. He'll be on the sideline, not actively coaching, turning that over to an interim assistant head coach. That provides a stability factor for North Texas, you would think. But Wells is there, and Utah State's a much better football team. The line has dropped. Again, I think it's a motivation ploy by the public in thinking that North Texas, and also considering that once the public starts to do its at least surface research, is that this is the time of year in which you, when in doubt, take the points, because that's the history of bowl play, to take the underdogs, take the points. In this one, I will buck that trend and go with Utah State. Give the 7, take the Aggies over North Texas. In the Auto Nation Cure Bowl, you've got Tulane in Louisiana, a 3-point pick by Vegas in favor of the Green Wave, who made it to postseason play on the strength of a late touchdown and a 2-point conversion against a Navy 29-28 to reach 6-6. I've compared the scores. I've looked through the results. There's little to compare here. Pretty much Tulane played within its conference. They also had a overtime loss to Wake Forest. Louisiana played within its conference as well, meaning that they didn't overlap common opponents. Louisiana took on, and we really can't gather too much from these two results, blown out by Mississippi State by 46 and Alabama by 42, actually scored the last 14 points of the game after losing 56-0 to the Tide. I will take Tulane in this game. I would love for this to be below a field goal because I think this is going to be an awfully close game, but take Tulane, give the 3 against Louisiana. All right, in the Mitsubishi Motors Las Vegas Bowl, typically my favorite bowl of the first day because I get to see a top team from the Mountain West, the champion of the conference, take on Arizona State. Off the top of my head, I cannot really recall because this matchup's been in play now for about 7 to 10 years where the Pac-12, a Pac-12 team, has taken on the Mountain West champion. And I would like to see the history on this. Maybe I'll go back and give it a look. I remember last year Boise State defeated Oregon, for example. And I loved taking Boise State and some points against Oregon. Now this year, unfortunately for me, Fresno State's a favorite against Arizona State. I had anticipated this game being a tighter point spread because I really like Fresno State to win the game. They opened as a 4-point favorite. It's ballooned to 6 points. Therefore, I'm going to take the points. I've got to take a Pac-12 team that has played close games. So consider against the Pac-12 that Arizona State blew out Oregon State like everybody does, basically. They beat Utah in a game that was certainly, from a score standpoint, an aberration. Arizona State beat Utah by 18 points, the team that went to the Pac-12 championship game from their division. Every other game, was one score, that close. Beat USC by 3, beat UCLA by 3, lost to Stanford, Colorado, and Oregon or Washington by a touchdown. One-score games across the board. Beat Arizona by 1 point to reach a 7-5 status going into postseason play. So I will take the 6 points with Arizona State, but take Fresno State to pull out the win. In the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl, you've got Georgia Southern taking on Eastern Michigan. Georgia Southern's a 3-point favorite. Again, I would like that to drop just a bit, but it has not. Therefore, I'm going to take Georgia Southern to cover the 3 points against Eastern Michigan. And then finally, on Saturday night, we've got the RNL Carriers in one of the more consistently sponsored bowl games. I think that statistic is under the radar, and you only find that here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. This might be the game in which, especially in the minor bowl games, in which the sponsorship has stayed consistent for the most years. The RNL Carriers New Orleans Bowl, Middle Tennessee, who reached the Conference USA Championship game and then lost it to UAB by 2 points after beating the Blazers the previous week by 24, take on Sunbelt winner Appalachian State. Appalachian State, I'm trying not to be biased toward the name brand of Appalachian State and all the good things that they've done down through the years against big opponents and then also dominating their level of play. But Appalachian State appears to be the superior team. That's why, of course, Vegas has installed them as a 7-point favorite. I'm going to take App State to cover the 7. -7, App State over Middle Tennessee. My first batch of predictions for the bowl season. Here they are. And we'll be back in the next few days to run down the next batch of games through next week. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please check out all the videos. We're previewing all the games, all the big games. Concerning the Power 5, I did want to, as I have in the past, preview all these group of 5 bowl games, but I just did not get to them. You can see all that we're doing with recruiting, and that's another thing that's changed the dynamic here in terms of our content at the channel starting last season was with a National Signing Day moved up from the first week of February to mid-December. We've got to focus on that and get you set for the recruiting situation and National Signing Day, in which I will be here all day on Wednesday, bringing you analysis of the recruiting classes as they come in. All right, so once again, I wanted to preview all these games. I really enjoy previewing all the bowl games, but did not get to these 5. We will do our best to get to some down the road, but certainly we've already provided previews with Penn State and Kentucky and Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State, Washington, and Alabama, Oklahoma. And, of course, we have Notre Dame, Clemson out there, and a lot of other good previews and predictions for you guys to dive into right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.